thing we're going to be doing today is we're going to be presenting a slate of candidates for you. My responsibility as chair of the nominating committee was to come up with that slate of candidates. And so we're going to present the slate of candidates for each position that's available. And then we're going to accept nominations from the floor for each of those positions. Today will not be a day when we accept oral presentations from the candidates themselves. The candidates, once the nominations are finished, will be contacted by one of us from the nominating committee and talk to them about the responsibilities of being a trustee of the LPOA. So, the first opening is going to be for the secretary's position. Connie Ruth was our secretary, and she's decided that she is a little bit too busy with her shuffleboard responsibilities and various other committees, so she decided not to run for that election. So are there any nominations from the floor for the position of secretary?
I'd like to nominate.
Hold on for a second.
Okay.
I'd like to nominate Jerry Liebarger for the position of secretary.
Okay.
My name is Vicki Becker. I live at 225 Sycamore.
I second. I second Ted Wolkenhorst, 344 Cherry.
Okay. Okay, next position, our slate included Tom Ramsdell as the treasurer for the LPOA. Are there any nominations for the floor for the treasurer's position? Please give your name and address.
Dee Brindley, 302 East 3rd, Jasmine. I highly recommend nominating and please nominate Karen Mader for the position of LPOA treasurer.
I second that. Linda Ruttencutter, 127 Kent Road.
Are there any other nominations for the position of treasurer? No other nominations, so the nominations are closed. Next one is for the trustee representatives to the association board. Ron Yonke has decided to run for that position. He is already a trustee. So are there any nominations for the position of representative to the Lakeside board?
My name is Glenn Becker. I live at 225 Sycamore, and I would like to nominate Mike Eggers as LPOA trustee to the Lakeside Association Board.
Can you spell that last name?
Eggers. Mike Eggers.
Okay.
Second.
Any other nominations for the treasurer position? I'm sorry, trustee position for the Lakeside Association. The last one is for a trustee position, and our slate includes Carolyn Fleischer, who is currently an incumbent and taking over Dwight King's position. Are there any other nominations for LPOA trustee?
My name is Sally DeCaro, 1317 Hirsch Road. I would like to nominate Beth Jennings Sibley for the position of LPOA trustee.
Second.
Okay. Nominations are closed. Okay, since all the nominations have been received, each nominee will be receiving a call from someone on the Lakeside or the nominating committee to explain to them exactly what the positions are, what their responsibilities are within the LPOA. Each floor nominated candidate will be expected to provide a bio, which most of us have already received. So we're in pretty good shape as far as that's concerned. Other than that, that's the only thing I have talk about today as far as the nominating committee. So nominations are closed. We're going to move on to the next item.
Thank you, Russ. We'll have Q&A at the end of the meeting. The next committee report is Ron Yankee, Community Relations.
Good morning, I'm Ron Yankee. Our Community Relations Committee's primary job is to listen. We know we have 930 sets of eyes, 930 minds out there. We don't hear from 930 people, but I personally assume that if one person brings a concern to me, it reflects more than just one person. What do we do with those concerns? Well, it depends on what it is. Many of these things we take to the executive committee for their consideration. If it's a matter of safety, a call is made as soon as possible to someone on the safety staff. If it's a routine maintenance item, likewise, if we know who that person is, we'll identify that person on the Lakeside Association staff. We also meet periodically with Charles Allen and review with him concerns that we have heard since our last meeting, and we ask him to share his concerns as well. This last meeting with Charles, we presented several maintenance concerns to him that had arisen in early June. That's in part because we didn't have Dennis on staff, but also it struck me as different. We typically don't receive a bunch of maintenance concerns in a short period of time. And what it was is people seeing equipment repairs or landscaping items that really hadn't been done yet. And it was beginning of the season, but many people have guests at the beginning of the season, and it's going to be the only time they visit. So they're very concerned to have Lakeside looking at its best, not just for themselves and for guests, but pride in the whole community. And it's that pride in the whole community that I particularly appreciated as the source of these comments. Charles did, of course, acknowledge that I think he's mentioned before. We had a rainy preseason, but that doesn't reduce our pride in seeing Lakeside as best as it can. We also talked about security checks for volunteers. Several people expressed concern over having to go through a security check, having to be fingerprinted, especially if all they wanted to do was pull weeds or do something like that. Charles explained to us the liability concerns, and I believe there's insurance concerns as well, or insurance requirements, I should say. And so we had an unfortunate incident that had occurred last year involving a volunteer. So that's still out there. I'm not sure I'm convinced that if I pull weeds that I need to be fingerprinted, but that's been elevated to Charles. We also elevated to Charles the poor conditions of the dump that exhibited earlier this year. I would go up there from time to time in midweek, and it looked terrible. I mean, it looked like how it looks after the 4th of July or after Labor Day. And it was really puzzling to me because there were empty containers, and yet we had stuff, bags often, stacked on the ground in front of an empty container. Can't understand it, but that is a concern. I've noticed since then Things are much better up there. I hope that's because people are operating as they should up there, and we know that people see trash on the ground or recycling on the ground, they're more likely to leave their stuff on the ground. I try to make it a habit to pick up a bag and throw it in the trash, or pick up a piece of cardboard and throw it in the recycling every time I go up there to make it look a little better, just to deter that behavior. But this is an area, I hope, where property owners can set an example for others. Another area of concern came up after the 4th of July. We have several safety concerns at the 4th of July, well beyond the fireball that concluded. One concern is the use of sparklers. As a boy, I loved sparklers. In my hometown of Lima, we didn't have public fireworks, so we had to supply our own. Sparklers were safely handled by us kids. Nobody was within arm's length. There was a bucket to put it in, and it was well controlled. That's not the case on the lakefront during the 4th of July. People are close together, and the Sunday after the 4th of July, I picked up a handful of sparklers next to the bandstand. So anyone running around with bare feet would have been exposed to puncture. I also picked up in 2 locations packs of unlit fireworks. I'm guessing people were shooting them off later on, and in the dark, whether safe to chase them away or what, they left unlit fireworks behind. Again, safety hazards. So I think that certainly as a lakeside has a role. We need to support them in that role, and ask that our guests not engage in unsafe activities, especially when things are crowded on the 4th of July. What's the committee doing this summer? We sit on when we can on Charles's coffee chats to learn of what's happening. I and other members of the committee will be meeting with the Lakeside Together group. I've contacted them. Want to understand what their concerns are and how we as LPOA can move those concerns forward. And also, we are interested in adding additional members to our committee. The more ears, the better for listening, as far as I'm concerned. And I'm happy now, so we've had an interest acknowledged already this morning. Dwight King was a member of our committee, and so we're a little smaller than we have been. I'd be happy to entertain any questions at the end. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron.
There is no such thing. He thinks Lakeside Together is Lakeside. I mean, stand up Lakeside. It's Lakeside Voices.
And Russ Brown is the chair.
Okay, I'm back. And I have my glasses.
Unbelievable.
So, the bylaws committee met several times over the winter, and we voted on a new bylaw, but we had a little problem with one section of the bylaw, so we wanted to just make sure that everybody was in sync with it. We wanted to make sure it was in sync with the Ohio laws. And so one of the specific areas of the bylaws was our membership section, which is Article 3. So, in order for us to make sure we adhere to the state of Ohio laws, I have met with a law firm in Columbus called Common and Cusimano. They are supposedly, as I understand it, one of the top law firms in the country that deal with property owners associations, homeowners associations, and bylaws relating thereto. So I have talked to them, and we have a cost involved in having them review our bylaws and make recommendations. And we, as I understand it, the cost included was $550 for a year of legal services for LPOA. Anyone on the executive board with LPOA can call Tom and Cusimano with any questions, legal questions related to LPOA. Have a 15-minute conversation, which is included in the $500. The review of the document is included in the $500. We discussed the amount at our last executive committee meeting, and I believe that it was passed 100% unanimously. So that's where we are at this point. Once we get that review done, we'll come back to you and explain it to you and show it to you, and we'll re-vote on it again. So, anybody have any questions as far as the bylaws?
Are we taking questions now or again?
I'm gonna take questions on this only, right now.
Martha Williams,
What's your address?
416 Sycamore.
Yeah, the one here, not where you're from.
Yeah. What was the name of that law firm again?
Common and Cusimano.
Cusimano.
Cusimano is C-U-S-A-M-O-T-O. Cusimano. Or F-A-M-N-O.
Hi, Michael Eggers, 414 Guam. Reading the bylaws, there's an issue between the association's bylaws and our bylaws, the POA bylaws, in that nominations for the position that I'm running for, in our bylaws, it says that the association has to confirm by vote our nomination or our representative to their board. It doesn't say that anywhere in their bylaws. So there's a conflict there. So if you guys could look at how you're gonna resolve that conflict, that'd be great.
We'll talk about it. Our bylaws are our bylaws, their bylaws are their bylaws. It's not something we have any control over, so.
So can I just respond to that for 1 second?
Yeah, I think I can finish the answer there.
Okay. The bylaws.
First of all, sir, right now we're talking about our relationship with the law firm. Those are the questions that we're asking. So
Oh, I'm sorry.
we will be happy to.
Yeah, I thought he said.
I am speaking, please. We'll be happy to take your question to the law firm, and we will also work with the association board to address that question. And during the Q&A, I see our association board president, Jane Marks, is here, along with other board members. I don't have the association board bylaws with me right now, but I'm sure they are well-versed and can answer that during the Q&A.
Okay, can I respond to that?
Sure.
But first up, Ross said, were there any questions about bylaws? So that's why I stood.
Okay.
It wasn't specific about whether it was about the law firm or not, so.
Okay, I apologize.
And
I apologize for that.
Okay, and I specifically asked,
Okay.
do you want questions for bylaws now, or you want to wait till the end? So let's just make sure we're clear.
We are very clear. Thank you, Mike. I'm sorry for misunderstanding what was happening.
Hi, this is Mary.
I'm looking for you. I don't see you. Oh, there you are. Hi, what's your last name?
BUTZ Foods,
Okay, and what's your address?
230 Elm.
Thank you.
And my question was just if the law firm has been vetted for Lakesiders in their firm, or is this a law firm that has no Lakeside ownership?
This law firm is not affiliated, as far as I know, with the Lakeside Association. We are free to enter into a business relationship with our organization and theirs. Okay, we're gonna move on, and please hold all your other general questions to the end of the meeting, and we'll be happy to entertain and give you the full 2 minutes. Now we're moving on to the Finance Committee of the Association Board Reporting section of our meeting. Brett Johnson serves as the Lakeside Trustee Rep to the Lakeside Association. He's been appointed to serve on their Finance Committee. And I think, Mike, you've had 1 meeting. Yeah, so tell us about it.
Thank you for the opportunity to serve and represent all of you through this committee, the Finance Committee. And as Mary Ann said, I've been to 1 meeting, so I wanted to respond to some of the things that happened. Doug Adams took over leadership of that meeting, so I think I'm moving along with him. We reviewed 3 business items. Initially, we reviewed and affirmed the charter governing the Finance Committee. That hasn't been done since the spring of 2023, so it was a good opportunity to see exactly what we're charged to do and how we're charged to do that. The second order of business was Doug had created a suggested yearly calendar, and what he's thinking is taking all of the responsibilities of this Finance Committee and putting them into some chronological order so that everything gets done appropriately on time. And then we also reviewed the renewal of the association line of credit. This is a 1-year renewal. It's nothing new. It's with KeyBank. It's the same terms and reviews in the previous line of credits. We continued discussion of 6 goals for the fiscal year that included collaborating with the Lakeside management, and especially looking towards the financial forum, which will be due by the end of July, and I will be sharing that review update with the Lakeside Property Owners Board, and look forward to sharing some of that information with you. I especially appreciate your patience with me as I'm learning a whole bunch of new stuff that I never thought I would be learning. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them, but I ask that you email me or call me. I'll sit on your porch, we can talk about things, then I can share, find the answers with folks who really have the right answers. I'll do my best. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Brett. The other association board report comes from me. I sit on the executive committee and the governance committee. Our governance committee met yesterday. Jack Allen is the chair of that committee. And we were mostly at that committee meeting reviewing the commitments to Lakeside leaseholders. And they affirmed the message that was presented by me at the May 17th meeting, that the issue of the word non-voting member in the bylaws stands as is. I stressed to the governance committee and also to our board president and others on the board how important it is for board members on any board in any association in Lakeside, LPOA included, but particularly in this sense, the association board, to make an effort more strongly to be relational. That means to be present, to be available in person, and to be more conversational in the way we express news back and forth to each other. That's always been a theme of my board service, and the board members that are here today are not surprised that I'm reporting that today. It's something I believe is very important. As a relational person myself, I know how important it is to receive information on paper to make it official, but I also understand the importance of talking to people in person. And that is one of my main goals, is to help the association board find better ways of being relational. And it's just, I'm beating that drum at every board meeting. Thank you. At this time, I've made references to the board members and I have not introduced them. I'd like, if there is an association board members present at this meeting today, would you please stand and be recognized? Hi, welcome. really, really fabulous way to be relational. I appreciate your support of me as president of LPOA. I know you listen to me at board meetings, and you always make time for what I have to say when I'm representing the members of my organization. I call it my organization because I am responsible for the good things that happen here and the bad things. So thank you for your continued support of Lakeside Property Owners Association, and thank you for understanding the need to speak in person whenever possible. Now on the other side of that, now I'm wearing my LPOA hat. I'm not saying this as a board member anymore. I'm saying it as the president of the LPOA. It is not nice to set up the board members when they arrive at a meeting in person. Thank you for whoever left. If the board members attend a meeting, and there is some agenda that is being pushed forward that is counter to what the board is trying to do with the mission, it's unfair to be me during any of those meetings. We appreciate being respected. And I, as the president of the LPOA, want to be proud of my members as being respectful in any setting. And I encourage you to follow your good wisdom in using decorum in any meeting setting. So at this time, if there's any old business, it can come forward. Is there any new business? Okay, we are ready for the question and answer period, and before it begins, you know the rules. Everyone has 2 minutes to speak. Please raise your hand and stand to be recognized by giving your name and your Lakeside Cottage address. At the end of your 2 minutes, we'll let you know it's time to sit. And if you have more things you need to say or another comment that you would like to make, please wait until everyone in the room has had a chance to speak before you raise your hand again. Are there any questions about the rules for question and answer? Okay. Please stand.
My name is Lori Schweitzer, 526 Elm. I did submit a request via the LPOA email asking if it would be possible to vote absentee when there are elections, because we're going to be on vacation during the August meeting. And I was assured that it would be discussed by the executive committee, but there's not been a response to that. And it just seems in a modern day that's a democratic thing to do, since we have to sign for our ballots. Thank you.
Thanks, Lori. I'm sorry I haven't written back to you. The answer is in the bylaws, and the voting must be done in person. So we act according to the bylaws.
Could you state where that is found in the bylaws?
I will look for it and I'll let you know.
I would like to know now, if you can have someone in your organization.
I will let you know, and I will record it as part of the minutes of the meeting. I don't have the answer for you right now. Any other questions? Doug, you're in the back.
Oh, hello, Doug Bowl, 462 Cedar. Brett, Johnson, this is for you. Thank you for your enthusiasm and your willingness to sit on the porches and talk finances. I'm excited about welcoming you to our porch. I am a little concerned about what you can speak to us about with the non-disclosure. So I would just like to know briefly how comfortable you are with the financial conversations you might have, because I myself, being a former member of the Finance Committee, I have a lot of questions. So thanks, Brett, for your enthusiasm.
Thanks, and I appreciate your encouragement too. I've talked with you and Kathy long as we passed. And that's a great question. I found that what I have spent a lot of time doing is just listening. taking notes, writing down things, and then talking to folks who really know the answers to those questions. I recognize the concern about the NDA and that conversation rate, which is I think what you're looking toward. And so I want to be fair to answer the questions honestly while following the rules. So I will do the very best I can. If I don't have an answer, I'll work to find an answer. I know that probably isn't exactly what you're looking for, Doug. I'm getting close. I'm getting close. Okay. Thank you.
Jim Edwards, 222 Jasmine. I was on the board for a number of years, and chairman of the governance committee as well as municipal finances. At the time we revised the bylaws, it was recommended by 3 attorneys, all of them are Lakesiders who are very highly qualified, that we include language in the association bylaws that state that the rules are an extension of the original camp meeting rules. Recommended by Dan Edwards, Bob Rucken agreed, as did Catherine Heigl. I don't believe that statement made it into the present set of bylaws, and it would seem anachronistic, it would seem odd that why would you want to include the notion of the original camp meeting rules. But it does lend credence and strength to the rules that you have today as a part of the original founding of Lakeside, as well as strengthening the leases that we all have. And so I would simply ask the question to the Lakeside Board, why was that language eliminated? Or better yet, perhaps they should consider putting the language back in. I don't dismiss the need to be efficient. I don't dismiss the reason to be honest or current. But if Bob Rucken and Catherine Heigl and Dan Edwards make a recommendation, I tend to listen to it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Your comment is noted, and it will be noted in the minutes.
Lynn Hudson, 324 Poplar. Just a couple of things. For clarification for the members present, rules for voting, is it 1 vote per household or 1 vote per paid member of the LPOA?
That's a good question, Lynn. It's 1 vote per paid member of the LPOA.
Okay, and then my comment about absentee voting. Since you, and I believe you are relational and you're promoting relations, given that this community and the members of the LPOA come and go throughout the season, I am asking that the members of the LPOA board reconsider absentee voting. Because
Right, it's noted as an agenda item for our next meeting. Thank you, Lynn.
Dan Bucky, 221 Park Road. This is a very minor question, and it goes back to your final comment regarding decorum and so forth. And after your comment, it must have been important to you enough to say it, and we all looked at other in amazement, like, what in the world is she talking about? So could you please clarify that so we have a better idea of what you're thinking?
About decorum? Sure. The coffee chats have been quite fractious. I think there is a wonderful way for property owners to be respectful in any meeting environment that they find themselves in. I feel that oftentimes, frequently, there is an opportunity for in-person communication between board members and the community, between this president and the community, between the LPOA and the community. And we are always wondering how we might need to maintain order. It shouldn't have to be the first thing on our mind. At the May 17th meeting, I had to ask 3 people to stop speaking, and I had to ask one of those people to sit down. The rules are clear. The 2 minutes is not unusual. If you've been to any meeting anywhere that follows this procedure, 2 minutes is the standard amount of time for a comment. And the comments or questions are not required to be answered on the spot. Give us grace to answer your question fully and adequately, and not put us on the spot with a challenge that you know is fractious. That's what I'm saying.
My name is Paul Gates, my wife and I have a place at 528 Palm. I'm holding the bylaws here in my hand. And on this section under elections, what it says is the election shall be done by ballot, period. Does it say that it will be done by ballot in person?
So how would one receive a ballot on election day?
I'm sorry?
How would one receive a ballot on election day? So,
Well, in this day and age, I would guess email would be the way to go.
I would like to say ongoing that as we have been preparing and rolling out the Lakeside, the LPOA website, I have mentioned several times that we are looking into the future to vote remotely. That is in our vision for the future. It is not appropriate for us to do it this year, and I have told that to you before. This is not something we are able to do this year. When we vote remotely, it will happen through our website, and you will be able to vote remotely, but we cannot offer remote voting this year. We're not set up for it. We're not, because we're not. We can't, we need a forum. We need a process by which we can be assured that the person voting is a member. You pay for that right and that privilege. And we honor that, and we want to make sure that the people submitting votes are members. That's why we vote in person. And when we are able to vote remotely, it will be because we are set up on our website as the password protected part of our website is for members only, and it will be very slick and very efficient to vote remotely. It's not, we're not ready to do that yet. Sophie.
Okay, so Cindy Moss, 537 Jasmine, but Sophie's my Facebook alias. I'm now outed myself, and Sophie was my dog. I'm going to support the idea of remote voting, and I appreciate your explanation. One of the reasons I support it is because there's a silent majority in Lakeside who don't necessarily come to these meetings, who don't necessarily go to coffee chats, but we're perfectly happy. We find joy in Lakeside. And I worry, as you use the term fractious, I worry that Lakesiders have become less civil than we used to be. There used to be something that we would call it's not the Lakeside way. And I just implore everyone to recall the Lakeside way and be civil and neighborly and not fractious. Thank you.
Thank you, and as I said before, it's on the agenda, our next meeting.
I'm Kurt Johnson, we're at 722 Second. One thing I think you might be able to do for this one is what about proxy voting? We're in person, you go as detailed as you can make. Lori and Jim go to a notary and say, this is my vote, and get it stamped and have someone bring it. It's still a ballot, it's still in person. While you bridge, or you can go as easy as we got a little bit of an honor system here. If you gave it to a neighbor, you know who Lori and Jim are, you know that they're members. If we bring the vote with us, you're accomplishing both while you work to where you want to get. It's just an idea.
Okay, this meeting is live streamed, and you will receive in the minutes a promise to bring it up at our next executive committee meeting. I can't make a promise right here. Yeah, okay. It's not a decision I can make either, so.
Having worked with Ginger O'Malley, 350 Lynn Avenue, having worked with elections for 50 years in the state of Ohio, on the election board as well as HOA in Florida, there is a way that it can be done. It can be done right away at one central place that people who are not going to be here, and we do encourage homeowners to rent, so renters are here at that time. Homeowners often don't come back till Labor Day. So we can just have one place where people can place their ballot. We have a master checklist, check them off that they've already voted, so somebody doesn't show up election day trying to vote for them. And it can be done paper-wise before we can get it online. So that's something that we could do immediately. And I'd be glad to help with that. Thank you.
Hi, Kathy Bull, 462 Cedar. I was thinking similarly of maybe a process that might be called like absentee ballot, where a homeowner would go into the administration building perhaps and give, vote that way and have it be certified that you were a homeowner. So I appreciated that comment because I was thinking of something similar to that. That might work out for this time, because if we wait for the next meeting, then I think the voting is over, right? It wouldn't be applicable for this. But anyway, that's another thing. I like your comment about being relational. I think in today's world, we miss eye contact, we miss face-to-face communication. It's texting, it's email, it's Zooming, and all that, which is all helpful, but we do miss that. And we also have to understand, in my opinion, people's walk in life and people's perspectives. And we have to respect that. And we have to give them kindness, and we have to give them eye contact. And I have an agenda. I'll use the word agenda. I've got one. I'm making a statement. That's my agenda. I don't think it's a 4-letter word. I think we all have agendas, and I think we can be respectful of them. One, for me, is just honesty and transparency. I want to know what's going on. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Linda Wright, Code 127, Camp Road. Marion, you said that we should go to coffee clutches and be kind and thoughtful when we speak. But Marion, you've never been in a coffee clutch, because I've been every single one except for one. That was yesterday. You may have been at that one. We need to see you more. I live on the same street as you practically. I only have seen you twice all summer. I want love from my LPOA president and the representatives. They represent all of us. We want them to do what we want them to do. And it seems like in this meeting, it seems like you fight us. Every time something's said, well, we're going to do the voting this way, we're going to do it that way. You've got to treat us with kindness. You're our president. And a president should be the most liked person in this whole entire room.
Thank you, Linda. Just a quick comment. I do have a business, and my market hours are Tuesdays and Fridays from 8:30 to noon up at the farmer's market. That's why you don't see me in the coffee chats. My father passed, and and for 10 years, my family has taken care of him in our homes. And that's why you may not have seen me as much. I think most people in this room know who I am. How many people have sat on my porch? It's a rhetorical question. You know who you are. I try and be available, accessible, and friendly. I also have an extremely difficult job of maintaining order at these meetings. It's a serious thing. It's not in my wheelhouse, but I'm learning to be diplomatic. Everyone is on a learning curve, including me. So give me grace for that. Thank you.
Morning, Jane Marks, 321 Lynn. There was a question about the association board bylaws, and I have the bylaws with me, so I thought I would take a moment to address the question, so hopefully we can clear that up for the room. But when we're talking about election of members of the board of directors, the bylaws actually speaks to the ex officio members. Those are the members who, by virtue of their office within Lakeside, right, have the opportunity to serve the association board of directors. And, you know, I realize I have Article 3 and you don't, but these are posted on the board's page on the website. So you can certainly look at any time that you are curious, but it's Article 3. And it's Section 1, and it speaks to how many members we are to have. We are to consist of, sorry, I know my vision isn't that great, 17 to 19 voting members. I want to reconfirm here for you. And then it says 6 ex officio members with voting privileges confirmed by a vote of the board. So I hope that does speak to the question, that our 6 ex officio members who have voting privileges are to be confirmed by a vote of the board. That's it, thanks.
Thank you, Jane.
Lee Grinley, 302 Easter. I'm 90 years old. I've come here since 1963. I have never felt, I've been in a lot of LPO meetings. Oh. I have never felt as talked down to or as condescending as I have at this meeting. I feel really, really bad about it. And my heart's heavy. Thank you.
New subject.
What's your name, please?
Ted Walkenhorst, 344 Cherry.
Thank you.
I don't need this. The LPOA bylaws say that the purpose of the LPOA is to represent or to advance the interests of property owners. Now, to me, as a property owner, knowing that the board meets 4 times a year, I think it might be a good idea for the LPOA to send out a survey to its members in advance of every association board meeting to inquire, are there things that LPOA members would like our 3 representatives to the board to take to the board? I don't think that's ever happened. I think it'd be a good idea. I think the survey you did last summer, Mary Ann, was great. That NCA survey was great, but that was about the NCA. If the purpose of the LPOA is to advance the interests of property owners, then I think it'd be a great idea to find out what the interests of property owners are in advance of every association board meeting. Thank you.
Ted, if you could contact me sometime after the meeting, I'd like to pursue that idea with you.
And I would like to say also that Ron Yonke is the chair of the Community Relations Committee, whose job it is to find out and to receive concerns of property owners so that they can be forwarded to first the executive committee so that we can discuss the scope of the issue and also the appropriateness of taking it forward to the association board.
Hey, Mary Ann, Jim Schweitzer with 526L. Just to kind of add a little levity, we've been talking property owners, we've been talking leaseholders. So 95% of us are leaseholders with a 99-year automatically renewable lease. For all intents and purposes, we're property owners. 58 homes in Island View are actually property owners. So when you ask for leaseholders to stand up if you're new, I was thinking, well, maybe we forgot about Island View, but I heard comments about, well, we're not property owners, we're leaseholders. Technically, the lease means we're property owners.
The house is a property. It's something we own. It's a piece of thing that we own. Yeah, thank you for your clarification.
The reason I bring it up is I've always wondered the provenance of the name LPOA. So that was just
Owners Association.
And also remember that this is a volunteer organization. So even if you are a leaseholder or a property owner in Island View, you are not required to belong to this organization. It's a voluntary organization. This organization is a membership organization, and we represent the interests of our members.
Kathy Wolf, 462 Cedar, Jane Marks. I need some clarification what we're talking about in terms of board approval for. I'm not an attorney, so I got a little lost in that. Am I right that for the LPOA representatives, the voting LPOA members that are on the board, the association board, must be approved by you guys? Okay, and everybody on the foundation board must be approved by you guys also? Is that just correct? Do you
Can somebody give Jane a mic? If she's answering questions, she needs to be heard.
Oh, sorry. Is this counting my and so you said yes, that all voting members, it sounds like, that are on the Lakeside Association board must be approved by the board. Correct. That is correct. Okay, so there comes my agenda. If you were like my daughter's boyfriend, I'd be like, red flags, but that's a different thing. Anyways, do you guys as board members, and you're an attorney, and there's so many smart members on the board, and I get it, but I don't get it. Do you guys see any problem with that? It's so insular. It's so non-inviting in many ways. Do you guys see any problems with that? Do you guys ever discuss that? Like, what can we do to make the board more a part of Lakeside rather than this little island within the Lakeside that people only get to go to kind of? That's it. Yeah.
So thanks for that, Kathy. The board is made up of Lakesiders. Every member of the board is a Lakesider. Some are property owners, some are visitors, some are pastors. But when we talk about Lakeside and we talk about our various constituencies, today I'm pleased to be in the room with property owners, but Lakeside has more constituencies than property owners, and you will see that reflected in the board's membership. So as we serve, we take into consideration all Lakesiders, and we want the voices and the opinions of all Lakesiders, and we are a nonprofit, right? So we serve the mission, and we are guided by the mission, and we are here to listen, of course, right, to a big contingency, but yes, we recognize that we are all Lakesiders, and because we're a nonprofit, with a tax exempt status, we function consistent with our bylaws, and and like nonprofits. I understand, right, that there is a desire on the part of the property owners to have the ability, I believe, right, to elect all of the members of the board. But because of our nonprofit status, we're not able to offer that. Does that answer your question?
Give her a mic. No, Kathy wants a mic.
Just really quick. Not really, only because, you know, I don't understand the ins and outs of a nonprofit, and I would agree, maybe electing every board member would not be the way to go. However, if the LPOA, Lakeside Property Owners Association, elects people that they want to serve on the board, why should you just plural, why should the board be able to just say, no, you don't get to do it? Or why can change the bylaws, I think, but I could be wrong. Same with the foundation board, they were separate, now they're together. So, you know, and I'm just curious, that's part of my agenda, I'm just curious, I don't get it. But I appreciate what you explained so far.
So, out of curiosity, was there a time ever in Lakeside previously when the property owners elected by direct vote all of the members of the association? So I'm hearing the answer is no, right? So we're functioning as we have functioned.
Please, Jane has the floor. Thank you. Jane, you have the floor. Are you finished?
I mean, I'm answering the question asked, right? But as directors of a nonprofit board, right, we serve the mission and we have fiduciary duties that we must carry out. So when we meet, right, we're mission focused. We're focused on our strategic priorities, the priorities that the community participated in helping us set, and in advancing the mission.
Is there another forum that we can use to have an actual conversation here? It sounds like I can take the questions and we can have them answer. I don't know exactly what the
Why can't we do it now?
How to proceed here.
The question just needs to be clarified. Jane, the question she's asking is, LPOA elects their member to the board. Our expectation as LPOA is that member's now on the board. You guys have the right to say no. That's what they're asking. Why is that? Not about your board, not about directly electing people to your board. If this whole organization says, there's two names, Mike is one, I forget the other one already. It's already on the board.
Ron Yankee.
Ron. So Ron is one, Mike is the other. At an election, the LPOA is going to elect one of them to be on your board. That's our expectation. The question they're asking you is, why is that expectation not being met? Because you have the ability to say, we don't want that one. That's what they're asking us. Why is our expectation not being met? Why is our voice not getting to the board? That's what they want to answer.
But that's not new. That has been like that for many, many years.
Not disagreeing. That's why everyone's asking it. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm saying that's the question they're asking you to answer.
So the LPOA is an independent organization from the Lakeside Association. The Lakeside Association is the governing body. The Lakeside Association Board is the governing body of Lakeside. They have the responsibility to make sure they have an appropriate board. They give the LPOA grace to allow 3 of an unaffiliated organization to sit on the association board with the provision that they are allowed to vet the people that we elect. I think that's a reasonable request.
No, it's not. No.
All right, now Linda, you have had a chance to speak. Who else has not had a chance yet to speak? Linda, I'll come back to you.
Stevens, 515 Maple. To Jane's point, I guess I'm unclear as to why the board would be unable to carry out its fiduciary responsibilities if they were elected board. I'm unclear as to why 501(c) status would prohibit an elected board. That doesn't make sense to me. And I guess I would just like to ask Jane, if I could, are you opposed to having an elected board? And if so, could you elaborate a little bit more, because the reasons you gave don't quite seem to do it.
And I'm gonna, it's a good question, Dave, and I want to hear the answer, just like everybody else does. I'm wondering at this moment in our meeting, how we have shifted from LPOA business to board business.
This is LPOA business.
If I can maintain decorum in the room, I will allow the questions to continue. I can't, this is another example of putting Jane on the spot. If we had a way to have, can I please have the floor? If I have a way to call a special meeting to answer these questions, I can do that. If you have questions, we can write them down. Jane can answer what she's able to answer. I don't know. I think I need to ask for your opinion, Jane, how you want to go forward. I know there's a lot of questions for you at this moment. Can I ask what you would like to do?
Thanks for asking, Marianne. I would like to remind everybody in the room that I'm one member, right, of our 18-member board. And we speak, right, with one voice. So while I can attempt to answer questions, my answers are limited presently to action that has been taken by the board, and that's where it rests. If there is a desire, right, for the board to consider some of the questions that are being brought forward today, because what I hear, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, what I hear is curiosity about whether we could operate differently. Could the Lakeside Association Board of Directors be structured differently? And that's a question that the board needs to consider as a board. I can't bring that answer to you today. I can accept your question, but I can't individually bring you an answer to that question. So if that's a question that you would like me to take back to the board, I most certainly can and will do that. Again, we have maybe 8 board members present or more. I didn't turn around to count, so know that you're not just being heard by me today, you're being heard by more than half of the board probably who is here and present. You know, we do have a governance committee. Jack Allen chairs our governance committee. Jack was here earlier. I presume he needed to go attend to other business. And, you know, I know you're aware that we periodically review the bylaws. And, you know, we can take that question to Jack and take it to the board. I see that Randy has his hand up, and I'm not running the meeting, so.
Jane, is this an issue, the issue of can the association board be run differently? Is that something that we can add as an agenda item? How would that question be vetted by the association board? What would the procedure be?
Send it to Jack's committee.
What's the process of?
It would, for me, right, and I'm doing this on the spot, I think that would be brought forward by the governance committee.
So it would go to the governance committee first.
To the big board.
To the
Slow, painful death.
And remember that there are constraints, okay? We have to comply with federal law, we have to comply with state law. If if we want to maintain our tax exemption, right, that's a factor. So these, which makes us a public charity, okay? So we are constrained by what's possible because of those factors.
Mary Ann? Could I comment?
Sure.
Yes. I'm Randy Snow, and I'm chair of the foundation board. And just a couple clarifications. One of those was, and Jane mentioned this earlier, about the members of the board that are affirmed or confirmed by the board of directors. Now, there are 3 positions: the minister of the Lakeside United Methodist Church, the president of the Lakeside Property Owners Association, and the chairperson of the Lakeside Chautauqua Foundation. And I'll go to that in a minute. But the person elected, or the 2 people elected by this, the Property Owners Association, are not confirmed by the board. It goes on to say, the remaining members shall be elected at the annual meeting. And then it says, 2 members elected by the board shall be nominated by the Lakeside Properties Association, and 2 members elected by the board shall be nominated by the resident bishops. So I think there's a clarification there, and it's not that the Lakeside board confirms the representatives from the property owners board. They are automatically members of the board once they're elected by the property owners.
You just directly contradicted
Right.
Jane.
That's not what the Lakeside Association bylaws
That's what I'm
say.
reading from.
Oh, this is crazy.
I'm reading
Our year dated April 1st, 2023.
Yes.
So it says, A, 6 ex officio members with voting privileges, comma, confirmed by a vote of the board.
Correct.
And then it goes on to list 1 each nominated by the bishops of the East Ohio and West Ohio conferences of the United Methodist Church, the minister of the Lakeside United Methodist Church or his or her designated congregant, the president of the Lakeside Property Owners Association, 1 person elected by the Lakeside Property Owners Association, the chairperson of the Lakeside Chautauqua Foundation Board. So that's in that, under paragraph A there.
Well, then what I'm looking at right here, that was published and was presented to all the property owners, reads differently than what you're reading.
I asked my vice chair if she had the the bylaws with her, and so that's what I'm reading from. My apologies.
I have a point of order from the
Excuse me,
floor.
just wait till I can get to the mic.
Can anyone not hear me?
You don't have the floor right now, but just.
It's a point of order which is always appropriate.
And what is your point of order?
You're hearing a debate among council. There's not even a question pending. Can we get back to having order? There's not a question pending. These 2 people can work this out and you can report to us on this.
That sounds like a great idea. And can I have your name and address for
John
the record? I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
John McKinney, 332 Walnut.
Thank you, John.
Excuse me, this is the most correct.
Good lawyer.
copy here. Yours is old, this is the most correct.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I apologize.
It is still on our website.
There's been a point of order on the floor that I honor. We are going to allow Randy, who has the microphone, to finish his comment.
Okay, secondly, the question was also raised with respect to the chair of the foundation being confirmed by the board. And the reason for that is that the foundation is a supporting organization of Lakeside, of the Lakeside board. And as a supporting organization under the IRS regulations, the member, which is Lakeside, and Lakeside Board has not only the right, they must elect members to the board. So if you want to keep your 501c3 status, because we are a supporting organization, the foundation is, then they have the right, actually, they could elect all of the members to the foundation board. And rather than doing that, what they've done is they have to approve the member that comes over to the foundation, to the Lakeside Board from the foundation board. And so that's why they approved those members to the foundation board. They're not on the foundation board themselves, but they have the right to approve those members. So when we submit a slate of members through the foundation's nominating committee and then the approval of the foundation board, that goes to the Lakeside Board for their approval, and that has to be the way it is under the IRS regulations.
Thank you, Randy. Do we have anyone who's raising their hand who has not yet had a turn to speak?
Behind you.
M.A. Stevens, 515 Maple. I appreciate the explanations of how things are now. And I would like somebody to acknowledge the requests of how we would like them to be.
Thank you, M.A.
Carol, behind you.
Duly noted. Has anyone else not had a chance? Oh, we have over here first, Carol.
Yeah, my name is Grant Hope. I live at 407 Walnut, also 121 West 4. My question is, it's encouraging to have so many people want to participate. I think that's great. And I love Lakeside. I've loved it for years. And I also don't like to see the squabbling and micromanagement, whatever terms you want to use for it. But my question is, since the Methodist Church left, has there been a strategic plan? Or if we address, go back and revise the 5 pillars, what are Lakeside here? What are your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities and threats for taking on and improving where Lakeside goes? And it sounds like every question of what's happening here would be addressed in those committees that go through that. So the question to the board is, have you done a strategic plan since the Methodist Church left? Do you plan to do one? Does Charles do one every year? How often do you do that?
I can answer that. We are in the process right now of strategic planning, and we have a consultant working with us actually for the last 2 board meetings on a strategic plan. Am I allowed to, what information about this, the ongoing strategic plan process?
Sharing that information leads to a lot of the questions you see. And because of that, the paranoia and all the other things that are going on here, I think we escalate. And so you can't be secretive about it, you be open.
Yep, and that goes back to my point of encouraging the board to be more relational and to speak more in person. And one of the responsibilities I see that I have now as president of the LPOA is to arrange forums for that purpose. And I can see where that would be a good benefit to the membership of the LPOA to invite a forum. Yes, and I will add that to my agenda items for the next meeting. And sir, you've had your turn. Okay, we need to keep moving. So yes.
Erin Curry goes off of 45 Cedar. First of all, Mary Ann, Jean, and Randy, thank you all for serving. I know that I've been in your shoes. It's a lot of different pieces to handle. I have a background as a CPA and I specialize in nonprofits, so I spent a good deal of time with all 3 sets of your bylaws, just out of genuine interest. Also as a Lakesider, that goes back a very long time. My question, I think a lot of what the question here is not, this is what we want to see, for example, but why were certain changes made? And I think the version control and those sorts of things kind of speak to changes are made in each organization over time, whether it be the LPOA, whether it be the Chicago Foundation, whether it be the board, and then as you flow through, it's making some challenges as we go that maybe isn't understood unless you're kind of pulling each piece together. So I think my question at least is, can we go back and explain some of the recent changes in the last, more not because of you as the board, because of the president changes over, how that relates to where we're going forward. Yes, the member was the big one, but there's a lot of things that happened along the way that seem to be missing. or we could open up and invite a discussion on an understanding as to what was the board's purpose in doing this, what was the foundation's purpose in doing this, what was the LPOA's purpose in doing this, and does it flow all the way through correctly to allow Lakeside to function. Although Jane's board is the governing association, Randy's is its own 501c3, and obviously the LPOA represents the Property Owners Association. So I would ask that we kind of look at it in each piece together rather than each piece moving separately, because I can see inversions where that happened along the way.
Yeah, and I like your comment, and it reminded me of something else that we talked about at the governance meeting yesterday when I was encouraging the board, the association board in general, to be more relational and to provide more education while something is in process, rather than to have the discussion and then report on it after it's been decided. I think that's a big sticking point that I hear. And as an example of that, at the governance meeting yesterday, I talked about the membership issue being taken out of the minutes. I wasn't on the board at that time, and so I'm asking for backstory about that, what that process was, so that I can be better able to speak to it. And just as an example, I said, if the board had had some kind of education while they were considering this, then people wouldn't have been surprised when it was finalized. Because if there's one thing I know about LPOA members, we don't like surprises. And that has been proven over and over. I think we had a kind of a situation like that with the NCA last summer. There's been a lot of spinning of stories about what happened with the NCA and why it sat on the shelf, and et cetera, et cetera. But the bottom line is, we have learned from those missteps. And as a board member, I will admit that it wasn't the brightest decision, but it was a decision, and we have learned from that going forward, making important decisions, it's important for us to educate the people who will be affected by that decision once it's made. And so that is something that I continually talk about at all the committees that I'm associated with. When it comes to these two different versions of the association board bylaws, it's quite possible that the directory is in error. It's not. The directory has the direct version. Okay, Jane said the directory has yes, and Jane has apologized for not reading from the correct version. It's something that I'm always terrified about. It happened last year, I think, with this, either our bylaws or the association bylaws were published with not the most current edition. And if that was the case, I wanted to make sure that I apologized for that, because that would be my responsibility. So, okay, thank you, Jane, for saying that. All right, next question. I know Linda had her hand up, Martha has her hand up. They've both spoken once. Does anyone else have something to say before we go back to the beginning? Dave Blank, is that your hand I see? Okay, oh, at the end. Okay, Linda, you're up.
I would just publicly encourage the board to okay all LPOA people that we vote for. To my knowledge, and I've been here a long time, I don't know anyone who has ever been not accepted to LPOA by the board. That's correct. Here we are. And also, people get a little bit afraid that they may not take a person that's voted to the LPOA because of what happened on the foundation. On the foundation, we voted 100% to have a person come on our foundation board, and the board turned that person down, which I will mention to the board that cost us a lot of money because he had a lot of connections to be able to bring money in the Lakeside. So that one non-vote, that person, cost Lakeside, my grandchildren, my kids, it cost them a better Lakeside because he had so many great ideas to bring more money into the foundation, and he was turned down.
First of all, Mary Ann, you do an awesome job. I don't care what the rest of them would, whatever. But being on boards myself prior to retiring, I think what we need to do with this Lakeside Property Owner Association is to clarify that's us. Then we have the foundation board of Lakeside. Then we have the directors board of Lakeside. And I think we need to clarify to us how many different levels there are that govern Lakeside. We're just one entity of several boards. And I think we're getting upset because there's miscommunication between everything. And I think somehow, that forum idea is a great idea. Maybe have a couple representatives from each of the board. Jane can't answer for the board of directors or the foundation. She is one person. Even if she is the president cannot speak for the entire board. Just like everybody has a voice, and we've been giving our voice. So now give Mary Ann a chance with your concerns to go to the rest of our board and come up with some solutions. But I think the forum idea is just to completely educate property owners.
Thank you, Martha. Lori Switzer, is that your name?
Mike. Carol.
Lori Switzer has the mic.
I just want to say this all saddens me very much, because we are all Lakeside. This is my personal opinion, but what's happening here is we have some communications problems. Some of them are verbal, some of them are non-verbal. I don't like hearing, because I did the census when we bought a house in Lakeside in 2013, that it was the board versus the Lakeside owners. This is troubling to me. I served on the pool committee, the teen center committee, all of these, and I felt that there was strong collaboration between the board members, the CEO, the Lakeside property owners. For God's sakes, they put me on the pool committee because I signed up for that, or the teen committee, and I can't even swim. But I worked with people like Randy Snow and Kevin Sivering, and we worked together. And what I'm hearing in this meeting is the board. And we do have opinions as homeowners. We own a lot of property. We have a lot of property value in Lakeside. And for some reason, I think what's happening, this is my perception, as someone who likes to take this side and this side and get to the middle, that we don't feel heard and we don't feel valued, and the sense of trust and collaboration has been eroded. And so I may be totally off base, maybe that's just me, but this makes me sad as a person who spends hours each day, each week, going through Lakeside history, and it was all built on collaboration and democracy, and I think we have a fraction.
Sally, you have your hand up.
Thank you. Your point about quorum took me aback and upset me, so I thought I would make this comment. So first of all, Sally DePiro, 1317 Hirsch Road. It's what you're feeling, I believe, is a response to pent up concern, emotion, love for Lakeside, intelligence that's up here. It's being blocked off by refusal to attend board meetings that are closed, or I'm not quite sure what reason. A variety of things. When the conversation is cut off, when responses are not given to emails or phone calls, and you offer us these opportunities at the coffee chat, and today, when we have so many board members present, that's a little break in the wall, and we're going to take that opportunity to help you hear us and understand what we are asking. So I hope that you hear us. Thank you.
Glenn Becker, 225 Sycamore. This is a question for Ron Yankee. This is nothing personal, Ron. You and I talked about this. When you gave your list of things up there, you talked to Charles about what's your thinking, what's your thoughts on how it didn't seem like any of this was possible to get done. The maintenance that the dock looks abandoned. What's your thought on Charles or anybody's ability to get some of these things heard and work with?
The conversations that the committee has with Charles, I would say are frank. The discussions are free-flowing. I've never felt he said, okay, I hear you, next subject. I mean, we aren't dismissed. With respect to the delays in maintenance, he said, hey, spring and we're behind. I retained some additional temporary workers to try to catch up. And we basically said, well, that's nice, but you can't go back and make Lakeside look good for the people who are only here the first week in June. So, he acknowledges that and apologizes about that. With respect to the porta potties at the south entrance, he said the work has to wait to be done, given the nature of the work, and I try to get the nicest porta potties I can. So, I've seen responsiveness on the longer term maintenance items. That's been less of a considerable discussion with Charles. The example you gave, Glenn, that is on the lakefront work group that's part of the capital valuation. I'm on the subcommittee that's looking at that. That's on my list. That's going to be raised up by the end of this month, if not before then. So, we're not getting, I've never felt stonewalled.
I'm Dan Bucky. This is the second time I've stood up, but I'm taking the privilege of being probably the next to the oldest person in this room. I don't know, maybe we'll have to check birthdays to see who's got that title.
I know you might have competition from Bob over here.
In fact, with Bob here, I know I'm second with Bob. Because I know the birthday he just had. But anyway, I've been around Lakeside a long time. Over the last 45 years, I've served 2 different terms on the board, so I've been inside and outside. I have great respect for the people that dedicate their time to serving on the board. As I heard so many of the discussions and concerns today, they were on issues that have been on the bylaws forever. Nothing has changed, okay? There's just a perception of how they're being handled today compared to the way we've been used to being handled. Like in the area of the board approving, certain people for with the board or the foundation. The rules haven't changed. It's always been that way. The thing that has changed, and I don't mean this to be unkind, I'm I'm just saying it as an observation. But I think the difference is there's a lack of trust and confidence now between the community and the board, okay?
Are you talking the association board or the LPOA board?
No, I'm saying the association board. We were talking about bylaws. Those bylaws haven't changed. And I think it would be naive to say that there isn't any problem of trust and confidence, okay? Without pointing fingers, without blaming people, just a reality. I've spoken to members of the board recently about that and how we can heal that, you know. Part of it is their responsibility, part of it will be our responsibility to be open to listen. But that lack of confidence is, lack of confidence and trust is an underlying thing of all of this, and I think we all need to accept it and work on it.
Let me ask you a question back. What do you think is at the root of that distrust? What is, when you drill down, what is the one thing that is causing the distrust?
And again, this isn't necessarily a fact, but it's a perception, and I've heard this all across the community. I don't know who they are. I don't know them, okay? And I know some of them, you know. And if I look down the list, we got really good people that are donating their time. But there has, and I think it might be just, maybe it's just the voice of the board to the community. But there is that perception out there. And I think we need to acknowledge it and deal with it, you know.
Is it your sense, Dan, that every board has the same relational challenges? You know, when the association board is required to make decisions, you've been a board member, you know, walk us through how that feels to have the weight of those decisions on your shoulders at that time.
Over all the years I've been here, I have never noticed this kind of fracture. Okay.
And that's what I'm trying to figure out.
Right.
What can you tell me more than just distrust? I need to know what it is.
You know, I have personally met with the last two presidents of the board and the current one, saying I really think the issue here is a PR problem. You know, it's a PR problem, not a reality problem.
So the thing, the message that I'm hammering away at with the association board is on the right track, saying we need to be more in person, we need to be more relational, we need to be willing to speak in an environment of back and forth and not just feeling. You talk about perceptions, and I hear the perceptions that you and others in this room have. But there's also perceptions that board members feel, not only the association board, but the LPOA executive committee. We have perceptions that there isn't anything we can do that is right, because everything we try to do is wrong. There isn't any positive feedback that we're feeling that we are acknowledged as making an honest effort and doing our very best. I'm not hearing that, so the perception is of, I hate to say the word attack, and I know attack means a lot of things to a lot of people, but that's what I was alluding to when I said we feel like we're set up or put on the spot, because we are trying our damnedest to do the right thing and to make sure that the mission of the LPOA, which is separate from the association board, is viable, and that Lakeside stays this pure and lovely place into the future. A lot of us in this room, I'd like to actually see a show of hands. How many people in this room belong to an HOA? I'd say at least half of us. That's, to me, that's part of the root of the problem, because in our what I ask of people, where do you live when you're not at Lakeside? We belong to places where there is common ownership of land. And there are meetings like this. There's an HOA president who fields all the concerns of the residents. There is common land involved in an HOA, which Lakeside does not have. We cannot approach the association board as if we are HOA members in Lakeside. It's just a different beast. So that's why
Except for the
the
fact that they
association
tax us
board
and set
is
rules.
struggling so much because of what your experience is when you're at home and how you deal with your own HOA to get what you want. So here, it's not what we individually or as interest-minded groups want. It's what everybody who comes through the gate wants. So, of course, the LPOA members and all the leaseholders have a huge financial contribution that we're required to give to Lakeside, and we do deserve recognition for that. We also have to recognize and admit that there are other people who participate in the life of Lakeside equally with us. That is our choice to own a house here. Lakeside hasn't made us do it. The people who don't own houses here have not been refused house ownership because it's not a membership organization. We are not exclusive. We can't pick and choose who the property owners are. We don't own any common land here, and that is part of our lease agreement. We knew that coming in with our eyes open. So we're not an HOA, and we shouldn't treat our various boards as if they are HOAs that require us to do what the requester wants. We need to find a way to be more consensus-minded and to make decisions for the common good. And right now, for the board, for the LPOA, it's incredibly difficult. It's incredibly difficult to do that. Question, Jim?
Jim Edwards, once again, from the West. I'm thankful I'm not as old as Dan and Dee. I hope you get there. I have great hope. I was on the board, and several of you ended up in the room on the board when the Lakeside Association board, when the number of members of the board was reduced from 40 to 25. And everybody's, when we say the board at one time was 40, everybody gasps and said, how in the world did you get anything done? But the answer is, at that time, just like any board, there were some people who chose not to participate. There were some people who were ex officio members that we probably should have not accepted, quite honestly. But nonetheless, there was almost someone from every neighborhood. There was almost someone that we all knew that was on the board. And when we had the debate about reducing the size of the board, several of us at that time said, you know, looking down the road, there could be a time when it would become too insular or become perceived as being insular and become perceived as being not equitable. And we lost. The board size was reduced to 25. I would simply offer the suggestion to Jane and others on the governance committee of the board that the next time you consider reviewing the guidelines, perhaps you enlarge the board a bit and take a broader cross-section of the Lakeside population and hopefully a better communication and therefore perhaps a better relationship.
Thank you, Jim. Who's next?
Dave Stevens, 515 Maple. I have to say, and this was a little bit crude, I think, but I feel like we're devolving into a pity party here for the boards, and I just can't go there. I think to Dan Bucky's point earlier, most definitely the board, association board, has a PR problem. But they also have a reality problem with us. The board is not doing the other that it would have to reach out. The board has in fact taken steps that are against the interests of the This is a board problem, a board challenge, in particular a board leadership challenge. And I would really, at some point, love to see the board actually take a proactive step toward acknowledging that reality and do their job.
Which is
not to distance themselves from us, but to represent us, include us in the conversations, include us in the membership status, so to speak, and acknowledge that we have a major role in this organization. This independent board that self-selects itself makes no sense to me anyway. And in spite of all the conversations that have gone on in this community, I still feel the board is just clueless. We haven't had any response other than kind of tone-deaf behavior. And I just can't understand that. That's a leadership issue. And it needs to be dealt with by board leadership, not ignored.
Jane?
We're here today and we're listening and we're engaging, and in the last 2 years we've made every effort to involve the community in the issues that the board has taken up that face the community. And one of those was really unpopular with the community, and because of community input, right, the NCA, the board decided not to go forward with it. We are now faced with a capital improvement issue, right? And that we have a lot of aging buildings, and the board is again, right, inviting community participation in exploring what the options and the opportunities are with respect to our capital improvement challenges. So I will challenge the assertion that we are not engaging with the community. If there are additional ways that we could be engaging with the community, we are open to more opportunities. But we have asked for input and we are receiving input, and we continue to be committed to that. We just released our commitment with leaseholders. And in that commitment, right, is our commitment to engage honestly with leaseholders. We're here doing that today. So I hear you saying that we're not engaging, but we're here today engaging. So I'm struggling with that accusation.
Thank you, Jane. I've got, we have a first-time commenter here.
Hi, everybody. I'm Gwen Nichols, 208 Maple. I serve on the association board, and I just want to say thank you to the Lakesiders who this summer are reaching out to me to have productive conversations about their real concerns and their real views. I'm sorry, I didn't get emotional, but as a board member, it's often felt as though there hasn't been constructive feedback, right? Like, I'm a problem solver. I love hearing about real issues. And when I hear about real issues and real concerns and in through that process and building relationship, I think that speaks to some of the things that Dan mentioned. And, we love the opportunity to continue to build real relationships so we can better understand the history that all of you bring that we may not have with us. Jim Edwards, I'd love to catch you after the meeting for a minute for some of the comments that you made. And I hope that we can start to break down this wall and, again, get to know one another a little bit better and, spend some time through relationship working on building trust. Do we have any Rotarians here? In our Rotary meetings, we focus on the 4-way test. And I don't have enough phone power here to pull it up and read it to everybody. But the purpose of the 408 test is that when we come together, we're trying to build goodwill in every conversation and in every action. And when we can approach one another from that perspective, hopefully we can and lessen some of these barriers and build on relationships and stay focused on our shared long-term priorities for Lakeside. Thank you.
Richard Hahn has his hand up.
He's over there.
Your name and address, please, Richard.
Richard Hahn, 401 Maple. With all due respect, and Gwen and Jane, you were sitting next to me at Friday morning's coffee chat, at which Charles Allen declared the community had approved a 3/4 of the year operation. That the community has approved operation of Lakeside, not the Chautauqua program, but the operation of Lakeside for 3 out of the 4 quarters of the year. You were sitting next to me. Am I misstating, Charles? Ted, you were sitting next to me. That was my interpretation, that the community has approved, not the Chautauqua program, but operation of 3 out of 4 quarters of the year. And the board members are sitting next to me. I speak up, unfortunately, and I regret it. That is not my understanding. And when you speak of trust, to have the CEO declare that and have determined the board not make an issue of it as wrong, creates mistrust in go ahead. I mentioned, well, anyway, that was my understanding of the comment. You heard the same thing I did.
Thank you, Richard. Jane, would you like to answer or comment on that?
Well, yes, if I may. Sure. So I was at the meeting, the discussion that I recall was a discussion on the strategic priorities. And so we were talking about the strategic priorities. Are you talking about the strategic priorities?
I will answer because I think he gave the number of weeks. We have a market study, according to Charles Allen, a market study that will support operation of Lakeside for 40-some weeks of the year. He equivocated that it may be less, but our CEO is moving forward based on what he said is a market study that supports operation of Lakeside as a specialized retreat off-season, and that it could be profitable. And he gave the number of weeks, which was somewhere, I believe, around, it was more than 30, and I believe even approaching 40, and he kind of equivocated on that.
You weren't the same meeting. You were next.
Okay, thanks, Richard. I really appreciate that clarification. And I brought a copy of the strategic plan that was completed, the summary that's on the website. I brought that with me today in case you hadn't found it online. As we all know, back in 2018, Lakeside worked on a master plan, right? Something aspirational to provide vision for the community. And after that project was completed, there was some strategic planning done. Was anyone here a part of that? Okay, and I'm not, okay, thank you. And I didn't show up today prepared to talk about all this, right? But you've got a question and a concern, so I'm not speaking for the board, Jane. But I do want to speak to someone who was at that meeting. Lakeside is trying to find ways to make sure that we are bringing in other people's money, right, to help fund our Chautauqua programming. And there was a market study done
that included Lakeside, and again, I'm paraphrasing, but the idea is what's going on the peninsula? How can Lakeside make sure that we're capitalizing on the opportunities to bring in revenue and maximize the facilities that we have, right, during the off-season? And so I think to Charles's point, you know, we hear about these big convention centers, right? We're not going to compete with, what's that animal theme place over in Sandusky, right?
Kalahari.
Right. We can't be Kalahari. What can Lakeside do? And, you know, through the market study, we're finding, you know, we can host small groups in an affordable way in the few facilities that we have that are available on a year-round basis. So the idea is when we have somebody who's coordinating events for Lakeside, they can be out advertising and trying to recruit small groups to come to Lakeside and hold their retreats here. And the idea is that we could do that. There's probably 40 weeks a year that would support something like that. So you know, that it wasn't about we're transforming this place and investing $50 million and becoming a year-round resort. The point was just how can we capitalize on the assets that we have to generate some income. That's my recollection of the conversation yesterday.
Thanks, Gwen. Any other hands up raised? I've got the red cap in the back. Carol, the red cap in the back. And then Glenn after that.
Don Ramsey, 312 East 4th Street. I fell in love with Lakeside in the 50s and 60s. And the big difference I see now, and when I hear about the maintenance and the buildings, I'm just wondering how much study there is on labor, wages, and so forth, because I just don't remember in the early days seeing so many people, and I know that times change, we have to change with it, but anyway, I guess I'd be interested in possibly just, maybe not a Doge study, but some type of study. Thank you.
Thank you, Don. Glenn, you're next. And then EJ.
Glenn Becker, 225 Sycamore. Marion, I applaud you. A couple of minutes ago you said it's hard to be on the floor, and I know it is. You use the word consensus, consensus. You asked Dan about it. Dan and I agreed on more than one or two things. But I think you need to ask the other 928 members of this organization what they think and what they feel and where they'd like to see things go. There's surveys a bad word around here these days, but even good boards that are in good shape are known for asking their constituents and their donors, how do you feel about this? How are we doing? So, consensus.
Thank you, Glenn. EJ?
Thank you. EJ Thomas, 661 Penn Avenue. I don't envy the job that you have right now during these difficult times, Mary, or anyone else that's on the LPOA board. Jane, by the same token, you and the board are dealing with some challenges that are really tough. I would suggest to you that they're tough because of the perception. I've heard perception here probably a dozen times today. Reality is not important when perception rules the day, and that's what's happening. There's not a person in this room that doesn't have goodwill in their heart toward Lakeside. We've invested here because we love it here. We've raised our families here because of how good it is for our kids. What you're hearing at these meetings, when things get blue, people get fussy, is because they feel they're not being heard. How is that different than in your own home when somebody, you say, you're not listening to me? And I think that's where we are right now. This country was founded on checks and balances, because that's how an organization, or in our case, the country, works best. I think there's a sense, a perception, that we've lost the check and balance that the LPOA board should have as it relates to the full board. Jane is in Columbus managing a law firm. A lot of the board members are not here all the time. You are the conduit as the LPOA for everything that folks are thinking. I think the perception, and I hear this out on the street, that the LPOA is reflecting the board to us, not the LPOA mirroring what we feel, what our concerns are, what our fears are to the board itself. So I think that one of the things that could help turn that around would be a commitment that there are times when the LPOA is going to challenge the board. I don't mean in a fractious way. I don't mean in a way that is, I'm going to say not gentlemanly,